Believe it or not, there's now a scientific diagnosis for children who constantly misbehave. Is it really a medical condition, though? I'm joined now by parenting expert Dr. Justin Coulson. And Dr. Coulson, Justin, thank you for coming in. We already know about ADHD, and obviously there is something in that.
Sure.
But these new ones, the oppositional defiant disorder and intermittent explosive disorder. Oppositional defiant disorder, of course, says persistent, disobedient, disruptive, defiant behaviour, annoying others, losing your temper, not accepting responsibility for your actions. And the intermittent explosive disorder kind of is more anger attacks and attacks on possessions and property damage. Are these just labels for children being naughty?
The answer is yes and no. Well, with ODD, it's been around for quite a while, in fact, and what we know from ODD is we have this argumentativeness, this real deliberate defiance, and it's normal. Children just behave like that. That's what kids do. They're argumentative, they're defiant, they're a real pain from time to time. The difference is with these disorders, they're not just happening one-off and they're not quite normal. They're going on and on and on and on. They're persisting. In fact, with ODD, it needs to happen for up to 6 months. So we're not talking about parents having some difficulties with their kids. We're talking about life being a living hell for some of these mums and dads. Intermittent explosive disorder, something might happen to you that's worth a 2 out of 10 in a response. It happens to you and you say, oh, gosh, that was frustrating. But a child who's got IED, they'll give you a 10 out of 10 response for a 2 out of 10 provocation. They will blow up, they'll start breaking things, throwing things, screaming and going nuts. That's not normal, that's completely disproportionate to what's actually happened. Now, we all have moments like that when we're hungry or we're angry or we're tired or all three, but when it's happening consistently, that's when we start to get into this abnormal situation where we start to say, well, maybe this is worthy of a diagnosis.
What worries me about this is that you're labelling a child as having an illness when perhaps they just need a bit of help to grow up or modify their behaviour. And would it lead to medication as well? That's the other concern.
Yeah, in the situation you're talking about, we do have that. It's a very delicate situation. Firstly, children are developing in incredible ways, hormonally and physically. There are so many changes occurring. So if you have a teenager who's explosive, that may be because they could be said to have a disorder, or it might just be because they're a teenager and they're going through all of these changes. We need to be really careful about the way we give these diagnoses, and we need to recognise that there are other things going on, other factors. It may be, in fact, quite often we know that parents need to at least share some of the responsibility. There are parenting skills that need to be taught. Children need to have the appropriate capacity to regulate, and they need their parents to teach them. Sometimes that's not happening. Sometimes there's something bad that's happened in the past for the child and they haven't been able to deal with it properly, or they just have some sort of a regulation issue. Maybe their parents are what I call pufferfish. You know, when a pufferfish feels threatened, it blows up. It gets really big and it pushes away the threat. If parents do that, their children will learn to do the same thing. When they feel threatened, they'll blow up and they'll become pufferfish themselves.
Now, the other concern is that it could become a bit of a cop-out. You know, you don't change your behaviour because you can say, well, look, I've got intermittent explosive disorder, so just deal with it.
It makes it easy, doesn't it? Some parents, when they receive a diagnosis for their child, will use it as an excuse. Thank goodness it's not my fault, I don't have to do anything about it. What we try to encourage parents to do is see it not as an excuse, but as a relief. Great, now we know there's a challenge. What can we do about it? Let's be proactive. Let's put in place the steps to develop the skills to work with our children and to help them to work through these challenges so that they can grow up and fit into the classroom or fit into the family or fit into society, just normal.
In some ways, it might be a good thing that somebody is argumentative and defiant because they might go on to break rules, become adventurers, find out things that no one ever has before. Even people who are hotheads can be exciting and interesting. Do we really want all kids to be little robots all the same?
No, we don't. And you're exactly right. And history's littered with dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands of people who have broken out of moulds, who have been ratbag kids, who never necessarily got a diagnosis. Some of them actually did. But they've gone on with appropriate guidance from people who cared about them to be hugely successful and to change the world.
These kids are not being medicated, are they, for these diseases? They're not being given sort of downers or anything?
It depends on the situation, it depends on the doctor, it depends on the psychologist, it depends whether they have other conditions. There may be medical conditions, there may be some other physical symptoms, there may be other psychological issues, something to do with ADHD or something on the autism spectrum. There could be any number of other factors. So some of them may be, and many of them probably won't be.
Well, I know it's going to get a lot of people stirred up, but you make a lot of sense. Thank you very much.
Great to be with you.